The morning sun rose over the hills of Neova, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. 12-year-old June sat on the edge of his home's porch, watching as the Durrani hunters gathered in the settlement square. Their tall, four-armed bodies moved with purpose as they checked their weapons and gear. "Today we end the nightmare," Commander Tejo announced to his hunting party. His voice carried across the square, deep and firm. The other Durrani nodded, their scaled skin reflecting the morning light. June knew what they meant. 3 months. Ago, the adults had killed what they called the nightmare beast, a large creature that had lived in the deep forest. Now they were going after its baby. "It is our way," Tejo continued. "The offspring must not grow to threaten our homes." The boy frowned. He had seen the baby beast in the forest while exploring. It didn't look dangerous. It looked scared and alone. "June, come inside for breakfast," called his father from the house. June sighed and went inside. Their home was small but comfortable, filled with his father's research equipment. Do-hyun was a scientist who studied the plants and animals of Neova. He had come to this planet 5 years ago with June after June's mother died. "The hunters are going out today," June said as he sat at the table. His father nodded, placing a bowl of food in front of him. "Yes, I know. It's their tradition. But the baby beast isn't hurting anyone," June argued. Do-hyun looked at his son with tired eyes. "We are guests on their world, June. We must respect their ways even if we don't always agree with them." June ate quickly, his mind racing. His father didn't know that he had been sneaking out to the forest. He didn't know that June had found the baby beast 3 weeks ago, hiding in a hollow tree. He didn't know that June had been bringing it food every day since then. "I'm going to finish my chores," June said, standing up. His father smiled. "Good boy. I'll be in the lab all day. Remember to check the garden sensors this afternoon." As soon as his father went to his lab, June packed a small bag with food, a water bottle, and his small knife. He looked out the window and saw the hunting party leaving the settlement, heading toward the forest. Among them was Jiho, the fiercest of the Durrani hunters. While the others hunted for tradition, Jiho hunted for revenge. His brother had been hurt by the adult beast last year. June slipped out the back door and ran toward the forest, taking a hidden path he had discovered. He needed to reach Miru before the hunters did. He had named the baby beast Miru after he found it crying in the hollow tree. At first he had been scared. It had 6 eyes that changed color and a body covered in shiny scales. But when it curled up in fear, making small whimpering sounds, June couldn't help but feel sorry for it. The forest was thick with tall trees and strange plants. June moved quickly, knowing every turn of his secret path. The Durrani hunters would take the main trail, which would give him time to reach Miru first. "Please be there," June whispered as he ran. After 20 minutes of running, June reached the big tree where Miru lived. The hollow space between its giant roots was empty. "Miru?" June called softly, fear growing in his chest. A small sound came from above. June looked up and saw 2 glowing blue eyes watching him from a branch. Relief washed over him as Miru climbed down, moving with the grace of a cat. The creature was about the size of a large dog, with 6 eyes arranged in pairs on its face. Its scales shifted from blue to green as it approached June. "We need to go," June said, kneeling to pet Miru's head. "The hunters are coming for you." Miru pressed against June's hand. Then the creature stiffened, all 6 eyes turning yellow with fear. It looked toward the forest path. June heard it too, voices in the distance. The hunters were coming faster than he expected. "This way," he whispered, pointing deeper into the forest. Together they moved away from the path, heading toward the rocky hills where June knew there were caves. Miru followed closely, making no sound as they moved through the underbrush. Meanwhile, the hunting party had reached the hollow tree. Commander Tejo knelt down, examining the ground. "The offspring has been here," he said, touching the dirt. "But not alone." He lifted his hand, showing the others a small footprint. "A human child has been here." Jiho stepped forward, his face tight with anger. "The beast has lured a child? All the more reason to kill it quickly." Tejo shook his head. This print is old. The child has been here many times. He stood up, thinking. The tracks lead that way, toward the hills. Then we follow, said Jiho, gripping his energy rifle tightly. Taiho looked at him with concern. Remember our code, Jiho. We hunt the beast, not the child. Of course, Jiho replied, but his eyes were cold. The beast is all I want. The hunting party spread out, following the trail. Taiho signaled for 2 hunters to go around to cut off escape paths. He didn't say it, but he was worried. Human children didn't understand the danger of wild creatures. If a child was with the beast offspring, things could get complicated. June and Miru climbed higher into the hills, away from the forest. The boy's legs were getting tired, but fear kept him moving. They reached a small stream and June stopped to let Miru drink. We need to find somewhere to hide, June said, taking a drink himself. Miru's eyes turned a soft purple color. The creature made a low sound and then nudged June's hand. When June looked into those eyes, something strange happened. He saw images in his mind. A cave hidden behind a waterfall not far from where they were. Is that where we should go? June asked, amazed. Miru blinked all 6 eyes in sequence, which June had learned meant yes. Okay, show me the way. They followed the stream uphill until they heard the sound of falling water. Behind a curtain of water was a narrow opening, just as Miru had shown him. They squeezed inside and found a dry cave that went deep into the hill. This is perfect, June said, sitting down to rest. We can stay here until the hunters give up. But, even as he said it, he knew the Durrani hunters wouldn't give up easily. Especially not Jiho. They would search until they found Miru. June reached into his bag and gave Miru some of the food he had brought. As the creature ate, its scales shifted to a warm gold color that meant it was happy. I won't let them hurt you, June promised, stroking Miru's back. You're not a monster. You're just alone like I was when I first came here. Outside the cave, the sun climbed higher in the sky. The hunt had just begun, and June knew that before it ended, he would have to make a choice that might change everything. Water dripped from the cave ceiling as June and Miru rested behind the waterfall. The sound of rushing water helped hide them, but June knew they couldn't stay there forever. The Durrani hunters were skilled trackers. We should eat something, June whispered, pulling out dried fruit from his bag. As they ate, June's mind drifted back to the first time he had met Miru, 3 weeks ago. He had been exploring the forest, looking for interesting plants for his father's research. The sound of soft crying had led him to a hollow tree. Peering inside, he had seen 2 glowing eyes, then 4, then 6, all staring back at him. He had jumped back, heart racing. Everyone in the settlement knew about the nightmare beast that had been killed, but no one had mentioned a baby. June had run away that day, but the next day, curiosity brought him back. The baby beast was still there, thin and hungry. You're all alone, June had said, slowly offering a piece of fruit. Just like I was when I first came to this planet. Day after day, June returned to the hollow tree. Slowly, the creature began to trust him. He named it Miru after the Korean word for future, hoping they both had a better one ahead. Now, hiding in the cave, June watched as Miru's scales shifted from blue to a deep purple. The creature pressed its head against June's hand. Suddenly, images flashed in June's mind. The forest seen from high up in the trees, strange glowing plants, and a sense of deep loneliness. I can see what you're showing me, June said with wonder. You can talk this way. Miru blinked all 6 eyes in sequence. Yes. Can you show me more about your kind, about your parent? Miru's scales darkened. More images filled June's mind. A much larger creature with silver scales teaching Miru to find food, to hide from danger. Then terrible noises, bright lights, and pain. Miru hiding, watching as the parent fought to protect their home from the Durrani hunters. Tears filled June's eyes. Your parent wasn't attacking the settlement. They were protecting you. Miru lowered its head, eyes dimming to a sad gray color. Outside, the cave. Commander Taiho raised his hand, signaling the hunting party to stop. He knelt down, examining broken twigs and disturbed stones. They passed here, he said. Moving toward the waterfall. Jiho stepped forward eagerly. We have them cornered then. There's nowhere to go up there except the cliff face. Taiho frowned. We must be careful. The human child is still with the beast. Why would a human child protect the offspring of a monster? Asked another hunter named Hana. Children do not always understand danger, Taiho replied. The human settlement has been here only 5 years. They do not know our history with these beasts. Jiho's face hardened. My brother will never use his right arm again because of these creatures. The beast must die regardless of who protects it. We will follow our code, Taiho said firmly. No harm comes to the child. Is that clear? The hunters nodded, though Jiho did so reluctantly. Back in the cave, June heard voices growing closer. They're coming, he whispered to Miru. We need to keep moving. Is there another way out? Miru's eyes glowed brighter. More images appeared in June's mind, a narrow tunnel at the back of the cave that led to a higher opening in the cliffs. Show. Me, June said, grabbing his bag. They moved deeper into the cave where the light from the entrance barely reached. June took out a small light from his pocket, illuminating a tight passage between rocks. We'll have to crawl, he said. Miru went first, its flexible body easily sliding through the narrow space. June followed, his heart beating fast as he squeezed through the rocks. The passage climbed upward, twisting through the cliff. After what felt like forever, they emerged onto a high ledge overlooking the forest. The settlement looked tiny in the distance. Mountains rose on the other side, wild and unexplored. We could go there, June said, pointing to the mountains. But it's so far. Miru made a soft, trilling sound, eyes turning yellow with fear. The creature looked back toward the tunnel. They're coming through? June asked, alarmed. Before Miru could answer, a voice called from below. There, on the ledge. June looked down to see 2 Durrani hunters pointing up at them. One spoke into a communication device, surely alerting the others. Run! June shouted. They raced along the narrow ledge, following a path that wound around the cliff face. June could hear shouts below as the hunting party regrouped to follow them. The path led to a series of steep rocky hills covered with strange, twisted trees. June and Miru ran between them, the uneven ground making it hard to move quickly. We need to find somewhere to hide again, June panted. Miru suddenly stopped, all 6 eyes focused ahead. The creature's scales shifted to an alert orange color. What is it? June asked. Through their mental connection, June saw a familiar image, a sacred place his father had told him about. The Durrani called it the Crystal Grotto, a cave system where special crystals grew. The hunters wouldn't shoot their weapons there. It was against their beliefs. That's brilliant, June said. But is it far? Another image showed it was beyond the hills, at least half a day's journey. We'll have to move fast and stay hidden, June decided. They continued through the hills, keeping to the shadows. Occasionally they heard the hunters in the distance, but the rocky terrain helped hide their trail. As the sun reached its highest point, June and Miru stopped by a small pool of water hidden among the rocks. Both drank deeply, tired from their escape. While they rested, June asked, Can you show me more about your kind? I want to understand. Miru's eyes turned a thoughtful blue. Images flowed into June's mind. Creatures like Miru living in family groups deep in the forests, caring for the land, watching over the other animals. They were guardians, not monsters. Then more troubling images, the arrival of the first Durrani, settlers long ago, cutting down forests, digging into the earth. Miru's kind had tried to protect their home, which led to conflict. They think you're dangerous because you were protecting your home, June realized. Just like they think they're protecting theirs by hunting you. Miru's eyes blinked in agreement. Sound made them both freeze. Footsteps on rocks coming closer. They pressed against a large boulder, making themselves as small as possible. Jiho walked past their hiding place just a few steps away. His face was set in grim determination, his energy rifle ready in his hands. He stopped, looking around carefully. For a terrible moment, June thought they had been discovered. But then Jiho's communication device buzzed. Any sign of them? Came Commander Tejo's voice. Nothing yet, Jiho replied. But I know they came this way. Return to the group. We will track them together. Jiho hesitated, clearly wanting to continue alone. Finally, he turned and walked away. June let out a quiet breath of relief. That was close. We need to move while they're regrouping. As they slipped away in the opposite direction, June understood something important. This wasn't just about saving Miru anymore. It was about stopping a cycle of fear and misunderstanding that had lasted for generations. I promise, he whispered to Miru as they continued their journey toward the crystal grotto. I won't let them hurt you. Somehow, I'll make them see the truth. Miru's scales glowed a warm golden color, and June felt a wave of gratitude through their connection. For the first time since the hunt began, he felt hope. The afternoon sun beat down on June and Miru as they moved through the rocky hills. Their path to the crystal grotto was difficult, with steep climbs and narrow passes. June's legs ached, but fear kept him moving. We need to keep going, he said to Miru, wiping sweat from his face. Miru's scales had taken on a dusty brown color that matched the rocks around them. The creature moved carefully, 6 eyes scanning for danger. Every few minutes, Miru would stop and press its head to the ground, listening for the hunter's footsteps. They reached a high point that overlooked the path they had traveled. In the distance, June could see the hunting party following their trail. Commander Tejo led the group, with Jiho close behind. Even from far away, June could see the anger in Jiho's walk. They're not giving up, June said. But we're getting closer to the grotto, right? Miru blinked and shared an image with June. A deep canyon they would need to cross before reaching the crystal grotto. The sun was already starting to lower. In the sky, they would need to hurry to reach it before dark. As they descended from the high point, dark clouds began to gather. The air grew cool, and thunder rumbled in the distance. A storm is coming, June said, looking up at the sky. That might help us hide our tracks. They moved faster, following a path that led down into a deep canyon. Tall rock walls rose on both sides as they entered. The space was narrow, with a small stream running through the center. We need to be careful, June whispered. If they enter the canyon while we're still here, we'll be trapped. Miru's eyes flashed with worry. The creature moved ahead, leading June to a small opening in the rock wall. It was a tight space, but they could squeeze inside to hide if needed. Just then, they heard voices echoing in the canyon. The hunters had reached the entrance sooner than expected. Quick, June whispered, pulling Miru toward the hidden space. They pressed themselves into the crack in the wall just as the first raindrops began to fall. The storm had arrived, bringing wind and rain that echoed through the canyon. From their hiding place, they could hear the hunters talking as they passed. The tracks lead this way, said Hana, one of the female hunters. But the rain will wash them away soon. Then we must move quickly, replied Taiho. The beast and the child are tiring. We will catch them soon. Unless the child leads the beast to the crystal grotto, said another hunter. They could be heading there. Jiho's voice was sharp with anger. Then we will wait for them to come out. No sacred place can protect them forever. The hunters moved past, their footsteps fading as they continued through the canyon. June and Miru waited until they could no longer hear them before slipping out from their hiding place. They know where we're going, June said, worried. But they won't follow us inside. We just need to get there first. The rain fell harder as they made their way through the canyon. The small stream had grown larger, making the path slippery and dangerous. June slipped twice, scraping his hands on the rough stones. By the time they reached the end of the canyon, both were soaked and tired. The land opened up before them, with the crystal grotto visible as a glowing blue light in the side of a distant mountain. We're close, June said, hope rising in his voice. But getting there wouldn't be easy. Between them and the grotto was an open field with little cover. If the hunters were watching, they would be seen. The rain provided some cover as they crossed the open space, moving as quickly as they could. Lightning flashed overhead, followed by loud thunder. The storm was getting worse. Halfway across the field, Miru suddenly stopped. The creature's scales turned a bright yellow color of warning. Through their mental connection, June saw what Miru had sensed. Hunters waiting near the entrance to the grotto. They split up, June realized. Some of them went ahead to cut us off. They couldn't go forward, and going back meant running into the rest of the hunting party. They were trapped. Miru's eyes glowed with determination. New images appeared in June's mind. An underground cave system that connected to the crystal grotto. The entrance was hidden in a small grove of trees not far from where they stood. "You know another way in?" June asked, amazed. Miru blinked, yes, and started moving toward the trees. June followed, hope returning. The trees provided cover from watching eyes as they searched for the hidden entrance. Miru found it first, a narrow hole between the roots of the largest tree, barely visible under a pile of wet leaves. The creature cleared away the leaves and slipped inside. June followed, sliding down into darkness. The underground passage was tight and completely dark. June turned on his small light, revealing a tunnel that sloped downward. Water dripped from the ceiling and the air felt cold and damp. "I hope you know where we're going," June whispered. Miru moved confidently through the darkness. After what felt like a long time, the tunnel began to slope upward again. A faint blue light appeared ahead. They emerged into a breathtaking sight. The crystal grotto was a huge cave filled with blue and purple crystals that glowed with their own light. The crystals grew from the walls, ceiling, and floor, creating a space that looked like the night sky filled with stars. "It's beautiful," June said, his voice soft with wonder. As they moved deeper into the grotto, the crystals grew larger. In the center of the cave was a pool of clear water that reflected the glowing light, making it seem even brighter. Miru approached the pool, scales shifting to match the blue glow of the crystals. The creature dipped its face into the water to drink. When Miru looked up, something amazing happened. All six eyes began to glow brightly, and the mental connection with June suddenly became much stronger. Images flooded into June's mind, but these were clearer than before. He saw Miru's kind living peacefully on the planet long before humans or Durrani arrived. They were guardians of the land, helping keep balance in nature. Then he saw the first Durrani settlers arrive. At first, Miru's kind helped them, showing them where to find water and food. The Durrani respected them and called them forest guides, not nightmare beasts. But then something changed. New Durrani arrived who wanted to dig mines and cut down forests. When Miru's kind tried to protect their home, the Durrani began to fear them and called them monsters. The war between them had lasted for generations, with fewer and fewer of Miru's kind surviving each year. The parent beast that had been killed was one of the last. "This is the truth," June whispered, tears in his eyes. "Your kind weren't monsters. You were trying to protect your home." Miru moved closer to June, pressing against his side in a gesture of trust. "We need to make the hunters understand," June said. "If they could see what I've seen, they would know the truth." As if in answer, the crystals around them glowed brighter. June realized that the grotto itself was amplifying Miru's abilities. If the hunters entered this place, Miru might be able to show them the same visions. "We need to rest," June said, sitting down on a smooth stone. "When they find us, we'll be ready." Outside the grotto, the storm raged on. The hunters had gathered at the main entrance, waiting for the storm to pass before entering the sacred place. "They are inside," said Taiho, looking at the glowing entrance. "Then we have them," Jiho replied, his hand tight on his weapon. Taiho looked at him sharply. "Remember, no weapons in the sacred place. That is our law." Jiho nodded, but his eyes were cold and determined. He had waited too long for revenge to stop now, sacred place or not. As night fell, June and Miru slept beside the crystal pool, unaware that their final confrontation was drawing near. Tomorrow, everything would change. June woke to the soft blue glow of the crystal grotto. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he felt Miru pressed against his side, the creature's scales warm and comforting. The events of yesterday came rushing back. The chase, the storm, finding the hidden entrance to the grotto. Morning, June said, sitting up and stretching his sore muscles. Miru's 6 eyes opened one by one, blinking in sequence. The creature stood and shook itself, scales shifting from sleepy gray to alert blue. June's stomach growled. He reached into his bag and frowned. We're almost out of food, just this left. He pulled out the last piece of dried fruit and broke it in half, sharing it with Miru. As they ate their small breakfast, June looked around the grotto. The huge cave was even more amazing in the quiet of morning. Crystals of all sizes covered the walls, each one glowing with inner light. The pool in the center was perfectly still, reflecting the crystal light like a mirror. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen, June said. Miru made a soft, trilling sound of agreement. The creature walked to the pool and looked into the water. All 6 eyes glowed brightly as Miru stared at something June couldn't see. What is it? June asked, joining Miru by the water. Images filled June's mind, ancient memories of Miru's kind gathering in this very cave. They sat in a circle around the pool, sharing their thoughts and knowledge. The grotto was more than just a beautiful place. It was a meeting place, a place of learning. This is special to your kind, June realized. That's why you brought us here. Miru blinked. Yes, then showed June another image, the entrance to the grotto with Dorani hunters standing outside, waiting. June's heart beat faster. They're here already? How many? Through Miru's mental pictures, June counted at least 6 hunters, including Commander Taiho and Jiho. They were talking together, planning how to enter the sacred place. We need to prepare, June said. When they come in, we have to make them understand the truth. Miru's eyes dimmed with doubt. The creature shared a memory of trying to communicate with the hunters before, of being met with fear and weapons. It will be different this time, June promised. The crystals make your thoughts stronger, and I'll be with you. They moved to the far side of the pool, where a flat area of stone provided open space. If the hunters entered through the main entrance, they would see June and Miru waiting for them. No running, no hiding, June said. It's time to face them. They didn't have to wait long. Soon they heard voices echoing through the grotto. The hunters had entered. Remember, no weapons, came Commander Taiho's voice. This is sacred ground, but the beast is dangerous, argued Jiho. Those are our laws, Taiho replied firmly. We will capture it without harming the sacred place. 6 Dorani hunters entered the main chamber, their tall forms silhouetted against the crystal light. When they saw June and Miru waiting by the pool, they stopped, surprised that their prey wasn't running. The human child and the beast, said Taiho, stepping forward. Our hunt ends here. June stood tall, though his heart was racing. Why are you hunting Miru? What has this young one done wrong? The hunters looked confused. Miru? Asked Hana, one of the female hunters. That's the name I gave my friend, June replied. Not beast or monster. Miru has a name just like you and me. Jiho stepped forward angrily. It doesn't matter what you call it. Its kind has killed our people for generations. Its parent injured my brother so badly, he will never use his arm again. But that's not the whole truth, June said. Miru has shown me what really happened. Your people and Miru's kind weren't always enemies. Taiho's face showed surprise. The child speaks with the beast? Not with words, June explained. Miru shares thoughts and memories, and in this place, the crystals make those thoughts stronger. He looked at the commander directly. Please let Miru show you the truth. Taiho hesitated, looking at the other hunters. Most looked doubtful, but Hana stepped forward. I will see what the child claims, she said. This is foolish, Jiho growled. The beast will attack when we lower our guard. I will decide, said Taiho after a moment. He walked forward slowly until he stood at the edge of the pool, facing June and Miru. Show us this truth you claim, human child. June nodded to Miru. It's okay. Show them what you showed me. Miru's 6 eyes began to glow brightly. The crystals around the grotto responded, their light pulsing in rhythm with Miru's eyes. The pool's surface rippled, though no one had touched. It suddenly Images appeared above the water, like pictures made of light. The hunters gasped as they saw visions of the past. Miru's kind helping the first Durrani settlers. The peaceful years when they worked together. Then the change when new settlers came who wanted to take more from the land. The images showed both sides. Durrani hurt by Miru's kind, but also Miru's kind killed by Durrani hunters. A cycle of fear and revenge that had lasted for generations. "These are old stories," Taiho whispered. "Tales my grandmother told me. I did not know if they were true." "They are true," June said. "Miru's kind were protectors of this world before anyone else came. They only fought when their home was threatened." The images faded, leaving the grotto quiet. The hunters looked at each other, their faces troubled by what they had seen, all except Jiho. His face was hard with anger. "Pretty pictures don't change what these creatures did to my brother." "But don't you see?" June asked. "Both sides were hurt. Both sides lost family. The cycle needs to end." "The human child speaks wisdom," said Hana. "Perhaps it is time to find a new way." Taiho looked at Miru with new eyes. "Is this the last of its kind?" "I don't know," June admitted. "But Miru is young and alone. Miru needs protection, not hunting." For a long moment Taiho was silent, thinking. The other hunters watched him, waiting for his decision. Even Jiho stayed quiet, though his hands were clenched into fists. Finally, Taiho spoke. "The hunt is—" A loud crash interrupted him as rocks fell from the ceiling at the far end of the grotto. The storm from yesterday had weakened part of the cave. More rocks began to fall, shaking the ground. "The cave is collapsing," shouted one of the hunters. "We must leave." Everyone turned to run toward the entrance. In the confusion, Jiho moved quickly. He pulled a small weapon from his boot, one he had hidden despite the sacred laws. He aimed it at Miru. "No!" June shouted, seeing what was happening. Without thinking, June threw himself in front of Miru just as Jiho fired. Pain exploded in June's shoulder as the energy blast hit him instead of Miru. He fell to the ground, crying out in pain. "June!" Taiho shouted, rushing back toward them. Miru made a sound of distress, leaning over June's fallen form. All 6 eyes turned deep red with anger as the creature looked at Jiho. Jiho raised his weapon again, but Taiho knocked it from his hand. "What have you done?" Taiho demanded, his voice filled with horror. "You brought a weapon to sacred ground and shot a child." More rocks fell around them. The grotto was becoming dangerous. "We must leave now," Hana urged, looking at the wounded boy. "All of us." Taiho knelt beside June. "Can you walk, child?" June tried to stand but collapsed, the pain too great. "Go," he said weakly. "Take Miru and go. We will carry you," Taiho decided, lifting June carefully. As the ceiling continued to crumble, they all ran toward the entrance, leaving the beautiful crystal grotto behind. The confrontation had ended, but not in the way anyone had expected. The morning sun shone through the window of the medical center in the human settlement. June lay in bed, his shoulder wrapped in healing bandages. 3 days had passed since the events in the crystal grotto. 3 days since he had jumped in front of Miru to save the young creature from Jiho's weapon. June's father, Do-yun, sat beside the bed, his face tired from worry. He hadn't left June's side since the hunters had brought his injured son back to the settlement. "How are you feeling today?" Do-yun asked, placing a gentle hand on June's good shoulder. "Better," June replied. His voice was stronger than yesterday. "Any news about Miru?" Before his father could answer, the door opened. Commander Taiho entered, having to duck his tall Durrani frame to fit through the human-sized doorway. Behind him came Hana, another hunter from the group. "The boy is awake," Taiho said, relief clear in his voice. "That is good." Do-hyun stood to greet them. The relationship between humans and Durrani had always been polite but distant. Now things felt different. The Durrani had saved his son's life, rushing him to medical help after the cave collapse. "My son keeps asking about the creature, about Miru," Do-hyun said. Taiho looked at June. "The young one is safe. It waits outside the settlement. Every Day it comes to the edge of the forest watching. June's face brightened. Miru is okay. What about Jiho? What happened to him? Taiho's expression grew serious. Jiho has been stripped of his hunting rights. He broke our most sacred law by bringing a weapon into the grotto, and worse, he used it against a child. He was aiming for Miru, June said quietly. But he hit you, Hana added. You placed yourself between the weapon and the creature. No Dorani has ever seen such an act. June looked down at his hands. I couldn't let Miru be hurt. It wasn't fair. Why? Taiho asked, his voice curious rather than angry. Why would you risk your life for the offspring of what we called the nightmare beast? Because Miru isn't a monster, June said firmly. And neither was Miru's parent. They were just trying to protect their home, their family. Just like you would. Taiho nodded slowly. The visions in the grotto, they have made many of us question the old stories. What will happen now? Dohyun asked. To the creature. That is why we are here, said Taiho. There will be a council meeting today. Both Dorani and humans will attend. We must decide many things. Can I come? June asked eagerly, trying to sit up straighter. The doctor, who had just entered the room, shook her head. Not yet, young man. You need more rest. But I need to speak for Miru, June protested. You already have, Hana said gently. Your actions spoke louder than any words could. Later that day, the council gathered in the large meeting hall. Leaders from both the human settlement and the Dorani community sat together. Dohyun was invited to represent his son's views. Outside, people gathered to hear what would be decided. And at the edge of the forest, watching from a distance, was Miru. The young creature's scales shifted between hopeful blue and worried gray. Inside the hall, Commander Taiho stood to speak. He told the full story of the hunt, the crystal grotto, and the visions Miru had shared. He described how June had placed himself between the weapon and the creature. The human child was willing to die to protect the one we hunted, Taiho said. It made me ask myself, what truth would be worth such sacrifice? An older Dorani stood next. The vision showed our history, the real history that many have forgotten. The creatures we now fear once helped our ancestors survive on this world. But they have also attacked our people, argued another Dorani. Many have been hurt, like Jiho's brother. Because we invaded their territory, Hana responded, we broke the balance that once existed. The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to resume hunting the creatures to keep the settlements safe. Others suggested finding a new way forward. Finally, Dohyun asked to speak. He was not a leader, just a scientist, but they allowed it. My son nearly died to protect that young creature, he said. Before this, I told him we must respect your ways even when we disagree. But now I see that sometimes it takes the courage of a child to show adults a better path. He looked around the room. I've studied this planet's life for 5 years. Everything is connected here. When we harm one part, we harm all. My son understood this without any science. He saw a living being who needed protection, not a monster to be feared. A silence fell over the room as people considered his words. At last, Taiho spoke again. I propose this. The creature the boy calls Miru will be protected, not hunted. We will mark a boundary in the forest, land where the creatures can live undisturbed. No hunting, no mining in that area. And in return, someone asked. In return, we ask the boy to help us communicate with the creature, to find a way to live together in peace as our ancestors once did. The vote was not unanimous, but most agreed with Taiho's proposal. A new path had begun. The next day, June was finally allowed to leave the medical center. His father helped him walk to the edge of the settlement, where Taiho and several other Dorani waited. Is Miru here? June asked eagerly. The young one has been waiting for you, said Taiho, pointing toward the forest edge. Miru stepped out from between the trees, all 6 eyes fixed on June. The creature's scales glowed a bright, happy gold. It made a trilling sound and rushed forward, stopping just short of June, careful not to bump his injured shoulder. I missed you too, June said, smiling as he placed his good hand on Miru's head. Through their mental connection, June felt Miru's relief and happiness. The creature shared images of the forest of others like itself, not many, but enough. Miru wasn't the last of its kind after all. There are more of you, June said with wonder. And they want to meet us? Miru blinked. Yes. Teho stepped forward. The council has decided. There will be no more hunting of these creatures. We will protect the forest where they live. And Miru? June asked. The young one may go where it wishes. It has earned the right to move freely between our worlds. June smiled. Thank you. Miru can help us understand each other better. Maybe, one day things can be like they were in the beginning when your people and Miru's kind worked together. Perhaps, Teho agreed. It will take time to change old fears, but your courage has shown us it is possible. 1 week later, June stood at the edge of the forest with his father, Taiho, and several other Durranian humans. His shoulder was healing well. Miru waited beside him, scales shimmering with excitement. Are you ready? June asked the group. They're waiting to meet us. Miru led the way into the forest toward a meeting that would have seemed impossible just days earlier. As they walked, June felt proud. His simple act, shielding a frightened creature with his own body, had changed everything. He had shown that courage and compassion could break cycles of fear and violence that had lasted for generations. He had proven that sometimes the bravest thing is not to hunt or to fight, but to protect. This is just the beginning, June said to Miru as they walked side by side into the future they had created together. Miru's 6 eyes blinked in agreement, glowing with the promise of a new day.